Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts, Casey.
And I'm Sam.
And let's get screaming! Woo! We did not plan that part. I don't know how we're in sync with that part.
Yeah, how did we both woo at the end of that? We're brothers.
We're in a mood today. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think both of us are like a little loopy after a Monday.
I think we are a little loopy, and I think we're a little loopy because we have a secret that we've been hiding under our skin.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sticks. The secret that we're gonna unveil at the end of not at the end of this episode. We'll probably just get to this right away, Sam. Is maybe something we can give a little bit of background on and kind of explain why we're the ones giving away this very cool news and information that is heading to our neck of the woods here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Because we're gonna announce the next guest to SiouxperCon, an event that is near to us. Why is that, Sam?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been running the SiouxperCon Film Fest. This will be our third year running it together. And obviously, Casey and I, we do a horror podcast. We're big horror fans.
We like horrors.
Yeah, we're horrors. Sorry, can we edit that out? No, we're not going to.
It's staying in.
Yeah, so obviously we're big, massive horror people. We've been kind of pushing SiouxperCon in a horror direction from our little neck of the woods, just like pushing for more horror guests. Because there's a market here for it, and we're pretty excited that we're bringing a guest that we have a little bit of personal history with. We interviewed this person back when Casey and I were doing Backlot 605, back when she had a new movie coming out called 10 Minutes to Midnight, which was one of my personal favorites of that year. I think it actually made my top 10. And I know Casey really dug that one as well. And should we just say it?
I think we should get right to it, because like you said,
yeah,
we're the ones kind of trying to ooze horror into SiouxperCon, because I mean we're the living proof that there are horror nerds, as well as like comic book and superhero and Star Wars and Star Trek nerds. There's horror nerds like us out there that are wanting to meet our personal icons. And I think this Scream Queen, this horror icon, is one that we have met virtually, and now we are excited to meet in person. Sam, who is coming to SiouxperCon?
Vanita Stretch Brock from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 herself, the incomparable Caroline Williams, will be coming to SiouxperCon this October. Fresh off of her having a role in Renfield this year, which we're super stoked to go see. And yeah, we're gonna obviously be screening at least one Caroline Williams movie at our film festival. Maybe two. It really depends. We're still working out the schedule, but yeah, we're pretty stoked.
Yeah, Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is making her way from Texas to South Dakota, heading to SiouxperCon. This is going to be coming up in September, so you do have time to plan things out and get your tickets and everything like that. So September 29th through October 1st, Caroline Williams will be here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the Premier Center in beautiful Sioux Falls. Perfect time of the year to come and visit. If people are listening from out of our kind of our area, it's a perfect time to come visit.
It's like the sweet spot for weather usually. Like you can go out in a hoodie and it feels nice still. It's not unbearably hot. It hasn't reached the brutal cold that we're in right now.
Yeah. It is the perfect time to come to Sioux Falls, but again, Caroline Williams stretch is
Yeah.
coming to Sioux Falls for SuperCon. Yeah, we could not be more excited for this. As soon as we heard the news that she was a possibility, we're like, yep, let's get her here, because we are massive fans and love and respect her work. And cannot wait to have her attend a festival that again, it's kind of near and dear to our heart. So Caroline
Yeah.
Williams, man, super
So
cool.
show up to SuperCon to watch Leprechaun 3 with Q&A with Caroline Williams afterwards.
Hey, we're not ruling out Leprechaun 3, baby.
We can't rule out Leprechaun 3. We just can't.
We cannot. I guess let's use that a little bit of news as our transition to seller news for this podcast. This is a pretty stacked past couple weeks for horror news. Not just like local stuff here to us, but kind of in the grand scheme of things, there's some big horror news, including that Sean S. Cunningham is in the works to remake Friday the 13th and House. I threw House in there because I'm a big fan of the first House movie.
I still have to watch House.
We will do it on this show. We have to.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Great... I want to watch it. I've seen it was on Shudder TV like all summer, like last summer or something. So I've seen a lot of it. I love what I've seen. I've just never sat down and watched it from start to finish yet. I can't wait to.
It's a wild movie. I'm excited to hear that it's not just about Friday the 13th with Sean. I'm glad that he's looking at other properties that he has in his wheelhouse. So I'm glad that they're doing something with House. But obviously the big story is Friday the 13th. This goes alongside the Peacock series that we're getting to. So we could have a Peacock TV series and a movie going into production at the same time, which I think is very exciting news. We could potentially have two Jason Voorhees on the screen at the same time.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I love it. I think this franchise has been dormant for way too long. I'll take it. Oversaturate the market. Pump us full of Friday the 13th movies like Disney did with Star Wars until everybody got sick of it.
Give Rian Johnson his Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. Have Jason throw the machete over his shoulder and walk away.
Somehow Jason has returned. I hope that's a line in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, my God. I'm super excited for this. There isn't much else news besides that from who's directing, who's writing. If this is even in full production, it's just been heavily speculated that Sean is working on something new with Friday the 13th, which is that's really cool. I think that's cool that like you said, it's been dormant for almost 15 years now, and all of a sudden, now that the rights issues seem to have been worked out, that we're on our way to some new Friday the 13th. We're heading back to Crystal Lake.
Yeah. One of my favorite places in horror. That and Derry, Maine.
Yeah. Speaking of Derry, Maine, this didn't take place there. But
Transitions, though.
Transitions, yeah. The guy who wrote that, Mr. Stephen King, you guys may have heard of him. There have been, I didn't know this, Sam, until I heard this news story. There have been 10 previous Children of the Corn movies. The 11th
doesn't surprise me.
The 11th is on its way to theaters March 3rd from Shudder and RLJE, with it landing on Shudder later in the year. This is a movie that was shot at the beginning of the pandemic. I remember hearing about that. It is from the director of Equilibrium, which is a movie.
I think, like, from what I've seen too, from the few like stills that they've released, this definitely feels like someone's taking the Children of the Corn mythos and kind of Stranger Things-ifying it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested to see where this goes, because I'm going to be honest, this is not my franchise. The Stephen King story that these movies have spawned from, I love it. It's one of my favorite of his works. That story scared the crap out of me for like a week after I watched it. After I read it, I couldn't shake it. The first movie's grown on me over time. Specifically, watching it over at your house before Joe Bob one night was a lot of fun. But the sequels are all terrible. I know you just picked up a box set of them, but I'm here to tell you they're all bad.
I mean,
they're all just the worst.
Listen, I'm a massive fan of the first movie.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie that I've seen so many times. And I don't know why, because it's not a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's highly entertaining though. And I kind of just love the mythos of it. And it's also like seeped into like Iowa culture, I feel.
Yeah.
Which is something like, obviously you and I being from Iowa, I think the idea of Children of the Corn, even before I had seen the movie or knew it was based on a Stephen King story, I knew of Children of the Corn, of creepy kids coming out of a cornfield. That's I obviously knew that, and it's kind of something in Iowa you just are born into in a way, like you just know of the mythos.
It's kind of funny, because like Stephen King is clearly not from Iowa. I don't even think he's ever lived in Iowa, but that story is very much like it's almost just become its own beast in Iowa. Like it's got its own kind of folklore. People, I mean, and it's because there's cornfields everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I remember like going out to my grandpa's farm as a kid and just corn roast for miles. And at night, that place would scare the shit out of me because you just don't know what's in there. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, yeah. So I'm excited. I'm going in with like no expectations whatsoever of this because this could be good. It could be like all the rest of the sequels. And, whatever it is, I'm kind of excited we're getting a new one. I like a lot of what RJLE does with Shudder. So I don't know. This might be fun. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. I'll definitely check it out. I don't know if I'll check it out. We will probably won't even get it in theaters. But I don't know if I'll check it out on VOD. This will probably be a wait till it's streaming on Shudder thing. But when it's streaming on Shudder, that'll be like the day it's on Shudder, I'll probably watch it.
If it hits theaters here, I'll go check it out in the theaters for sure. I fully expect it won't, and I'm not one to pay the $20 premium VOD. I haven't done it yet. I'm not going to do it on Children of the Corn 11. I'll just wait till it comes on Shudder. Otherwise, I am excited.
This is what we're going to call it, Children of the Corn 11.
Yeah, I don't know if it has another name, if it's just Children of the Corn or the
I
Children
think it's
of the
supposed
Corn.
to just be like a reboot type of thing, and I'm like, I mean, all of these movies could potentially just be reboots. Yeah, there was one that came out. Yeah, I don't even know. We don't have to get into the history of this.
No, we'll save that for our Children of the Corn episode.
Oh God, yeah.
No, but I will say every episode we always do like hint at something we want to do in the future. I don't think we need to do a full Children of the Corn series. But you and I need to make a trip down to the Sioux City area to where the first movie was shot.
Maybe oh, absolutely. I would love to do an episode at least on the original. Maybe we can do we like doing double features. We could double feature the original with this new one whenever it hits Shudder. Have something fun like that. I don't know.
Be on the lookout.
Spitballing while live on the
be on the lookout, Scream Demon. Something will be coming from Children of the Corn. Next piece of news that we got here. There has
this is cool.
This is really cool. Even, and I say that as both of us were kind of lukewarm on this movie. It is Barbarian director and writer Zach Krieger's next film, Weapons. Had a major studio bidding war, which I'm like, I can't think of the last time of hearing like an original horror IP winning a big bidding war. And it is won by the house that Freddie built, New Line Cinema. So they pick up Zach Krieger's next movie, Weapons. Sam, do you remember how much it was for? It was a couple million?
Yeah, it was a couple million. Like it was a decent number. And I want to say there were a bunch of benefits, including he's got like final cut on this thing. Like they're giving him pretty much carte blanche to make whatever he wants next. And you know, you're right. Barbarian didn't work for me. Like, and I know that I am 100% in the minority when I say like I just didn't like that movie. But what I can't deny is that that dude has chops. It was unlike anything I'd seen before. I didn't necessarily like what it was giving me, but like there's no denying that it was a singular new voice in horror. And anything like that's going to turn my head. I'm stoked to see this. I can't wait to see what he follows up a movie like Barbarian with, you know? And I'm also a fan of vague one word titles for movies. And so, yeah, just calling your film Weapons, like, that's really all I need. I don't probably think I'll watch a trailer because I didn't watch it. Well, no, I did watch the Barbarian trailer, but I probably won't watch a trailer for this one. I'm probably just going to go see it blind because I think that was probably the best way to go see Barbarian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Barbarian's a movie I liked 2/3 of, and it's the third in the middle I didn't. Which I think
I would
is
agree
super.
with that.
Like, I don't know. I can't think of many movies that are like that.
I think it starts and ends really strong. Everything in the middle is very not my thing. Yeah.
But I am super excited to see what he does next. There was so much I did like in Barbarian. I still gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. I still dug the movie quite a bit. The first half, especially that first act of the movie is, man, if the movie was
it's my
like
favorite,
just that,
my favorite
oh
part.
my God, it's one of the best, I don't know, 30, 35, 40 minutes of any movie this year, or of last year. So I'm excited again with the success of Barbarian and the success of Smile. I think we're looking at kind of the next chapter of horror coming in, where studios are looking at original ideas with some sort of hook that you can sell the movie on, like Megan.
Oh yeah.
Where you can sell the movie to audiences even though they know nothing about it, no actors behind it, no Jordan Peele behind the camera. I think that's a really cool place to be in right now, and I think again, horror is in a really good place. So I'm just excited to see what Zach does next.
Yeah, I kind of hope that Parker Finn gets to leverage Smile for something similar.
Yeah,
because I think that movie just, like I said, I don't think I'll ever watch that movie again because it genuinely it messed me up. But God, it was definitely one of my favorites of last year. I really liked Smile. I hope instead of sequelizing both of these movies, like I don't want a Smile 2, I don't want a Barbarian 2. I want to see these guys do something completely new and different. I think this was a good year for like horror debuts, I think, in general, because there are a few that I'm drawing a blank on right now, like the category on the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, which by the way, we didn't put it in the news, but the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards nominations came out. So go vote those, have fun with that. We love watching those every year. So
I think we might talk. Well, maybe we'll do the winners or something when
we should do a Chainsaw Awards recap. That would be fun. So I think that like first feature category that they have, where it's like directors doing a feature for the first time, I think that's a pretty stacked category this year. When I looked at it, I haven't voted yet because there are still some things I need to watch. But yeah, I was like, wow, this has been a great year for up and coming horror directors. So
2022 was a great year for first time directors. And I think it's exciting to see what they do next. 2022 was also a year that I got really knee deep into full moon features.
Yes, you did.
I did, and my boy Charlie Band, they just dropped some news here. And it kind of relates to more of like when we talk about like our collectibles type of things, because again, with me getting into Full Moon heavily last year, I definitely have some Puppet Master figures now. So this news here was exciting to hear. that Full Moon has announced a Full Moon horror line, which is going to be a toy division, which they've been doing already, but now this is going to be more so kind of high end replicas and figures. Some of the things
The first high end thing that Full Moon's ever done.
that's true.
No shade. I mean that in kind of a fun, good way, actually.
Yeah. So the guy they tapped to kind of head this part of Full Moon is the name Rick Ferris. And I did a little research on him. He was the guy who did like Full Moon's action figure line and stuff back in the 90s. So like at the height of Full Moon. And so he's coming back into the Full Moon family for this. And some of the things I saw were a movie we should watch, Sam, because I love it. Demonic Toys. There's a
I do want to check that one.
There's a spin-off series that Charlie's working on now called is it Oopsie Baby? I think is what it's called. It's like a baby doll, but the toy they've already announced to be part of this Full Moon Toys is like an actual animatronic working interactive baby doll. It's Megan. It's baby Megan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's baby Megan.
Yeah.
Who's girl Chucky.
Yeah.
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 So it's baby girl Chucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they do next. Yeah, I mean the stuff they've been putting out, I like, but there are plenty of like Full Moon franchises they haven't really done a whole lot with for like toys and collectibles and action figures and stuff. Besides like the obvious like Puppet Master, that's kind of their bread and butter, obviously. But there are plenty of other ones that they could do in the Full Moon catalog.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not even as massive a Full Moon person as you are. Like I'd say like I haven't seen a lot of Full Moon stuff, but I know Full Moon stuff, and there's so many iconic. Like they could make toys for days, and yeah, oh yeah, that's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely excited for that. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Charlie has in store with these new toys. But the last piece of news that we got here, it's a bit of a downer. Bit of a downer to kind of end on, but original Wednesday Addams actress Lisa Loring has passed away at the age of 64. Yeah, we just kind of wanted to throw it in there because obviously, again, we kind of talk about 2022 horror and stuff in the zeitgeist. Maybe no TV show bigger than Wednesday and OG Wednesday Addams. Obviously a big part in shaping what every iteration of Wednesday is after that.
Oh yeah.
And, I mean, the
She's
Addams
the
family.
Blueprint.
Yeah, and I think for both of us, I didn't religiously watch Addams Family as a kid. That and the Munsters were like always on TV land, and so like if I was scrolling through the channels and it wasn't the Brady Bunch and it was the Addams Family, I would stick around and watch a little bit and stuff. But Sam, this is I think the Addams Family is definitely more of up your wheelhouse and something a huge inspiration to you with your comic strip and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, when I did the Ghoul Fields, it was essentially like me being like, hey, I'm just gonna do like a Munsters Addams Family style cartoon, essentially. Because I grew up watching both of those. I used to love them. I loved the black and white. I loved, like, even as a kid, I was a weird kid who was like, if something was in black and white, that was so much more interesting to me than any of the color movies that were coming out. And so I gravitated towards stuff like the Munsters and the Addams Family, and I grew up watching that. And I obviously watched like the Barry Sonnenfeld movies too. Christina Ricci she's an incredible Wednesday, but like you can't deny that even like her look, her maybe not necessarily like everything about that, because she kicked it up a notch with the drollness and everything, but that original Wednesday design has completely like informed every other Wednesday going forward. You can't mess with perfection, and Lisa Loring is just so cute and sweet in that like it's so funny because like she's Wednesday, but she's like the cutest Wednesday. She's the little like so innocent about lopping her doll's head off. And I think that's something that only Lisa Loring has ever brought to that role. Like we've never seen that since. And yeah, she's an icon. She's an icon. She brought one of my favorite characters of all time to life. I don't even know if there'd be Ghoulfields without her. So yeah, we just wanted to give her a shout out on the podcast and you know, send our condolences to her family and her loved ones, and just know that her work is tremendous and lives on and is still very much appreciated by the horror community.
Iconic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, iconic. So, yeah, that's our Cellar news.
It is.
Which leads us to,
I was gonna say, good luck transitioning, Sam.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got to transition because we ended Cellar news on a really bummer note. So we're just gonna move right into what are you doing, Casey? What have you been doing recently? I know we watch Velma, but I actually have other Scooby-Doo things that I've been watching. So like, I have been doing things.
Cool.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Know what I realized we didn't do, and we are terrible hosts for doing this. We didn't say what our actual topic is for this episode.
Oh my God, we still haven't.
Not that people, clicked on this episode with the title Cabin Fever and Cabin in the Woods and
yeah, that's true.
don't expect us to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. So cabin movies is kind of our theme for this episode. Because Knock at the Cabin is coming out. So we thought we'd tie things together with locking ourselves in a cabin in the basement for this episode.
Yeah. Cabin in the basement.
So my recent watches, I don't have a whole lot, to be honest.
I don't have too many, but I have a lot of new ones I'm excited about talking
and I'll be quick about mine.
Okay.
Because I also stayed in the theme of cabin movies.
I saw your letterbox. Yeah, you've got some good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm in the mood for cabin movies the last couple weeks. So I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, great movie.
I've seen this movie so many times. One of the go-to high school movie night movies, Tucker and Dale versus Evil for me. This movie is so funny. It is so witty. It is perfectly on point for being a horror comedy and a satire of horror movies, especially like the backwoods redneck type of horror movies or cabin in the woods type of movies. It is the perfect satire of that. Yeah. I love this movie. It is super funny. The gore in it is incredible. The teenagers in it are just the worst, insufferable, horrible teenagers, and it is so funny just hearing Alan Tudyk talking about how these teenagers are killing themselves.
The wood chipper sequence is still the funniest thing. Like I laugh so hard when he just like wipes the blood from his face. You okay? It's just like sticking out of a wood chipper. And he's, oh my God, it just, the comedic timing from him and Tyler Levine, or no, what's his last name? Tyler something?
I don't know. I don't know him from, I can't think of anything besides.
I think I just used the last name of someone I went to high school with instead. But yeah, no, both of those two leads are just incredible. Yeah. Tucker and Dale I know you texted me, you were like, I wish we were talking Tucker and Dale instead of Cabin in the Woods. I love Cabin in the Woods.
I feel like every time I watch Cabin in the Woods, I watch Tucker and Dale versus Evil because I just think it's the better version of what Cabin in the Woods is trying to do.
Yeah.
Spoilers for my thoughts on Cabin in the Woods, but
well, that's okay. I mean, yeah, spoilers for my thoughts on Cabin in the Woods. I like it much more than Casey, but yeah.
The other one I have, and I'm not going to say anything else besides I watched it. I watched the Evil Dead remake.
You love it. I know. It's a 5-star movie for you.
I gave it a 5-star.
Big old banger.
We'll talk. We're again hinting at other episodes. We're talking about the Evil Dead remake in depth at some point.
Oh yeah.
this year.
I look forward to like actually. I don't think I've watched that one front to back in a very, very, very long time. Yeah,
So good.
yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that one out again. The Evil Dead Rise trailer kind of got me like in the headspace of like, God, I should really give that one another go.
Mm-hmm.
So, is that
that's all my recent watches? What about you?
okay?
I have other
Yeah,
to be doings besides that, but
I've got a few. Okay, so I thought you had watched this, but you must not have. You haven't seen Sick yet?
no, I have not.
Okay.
Yet, no.
Okay, so I'm gonna like obviously I don't think we were gonna spoil it anyways because it's pretty new. But yeah, Sick is the new movie from it's on Peacock. Yeah,
It is
Peacock.
on Peacock.
So it's on Peacock, and it's just a straight up slasher set in the COVID pandemic. A little too I think we're still a little too close for this movie to be here, if that makes sense. But that said, I love this movie. It's a slasher that's very much like Kevin Williamson wrote it. It's very much indebted to Scream. Like right on down to like there's cell phones being used by the killer, like taunting people and that type of thing. There's home invasion. Like the opening sequence is just incredible. It's like it's a great cold open that starts in a grocery store. There's tension, like everybody's masked up. Someone coughs and everybody's like looking at the person, and they're like, it's like instantly brings you back to that time where everybody was just paranoid. Might be a good or bad thing for certain people. But the whole sequence is just tense when the actual stuff starts happening, and like you follow this guy all the way home and something's still not going on. It's like and then it pays off really in a really brutal and very satisfying fashion. And then you're off with these like two other characters, and you're just like, oh, okay. They're going and quarantining out in this cabin in the middle of nowhere. And then the same thing starts happening to them. And where it'll go from there, like I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a tense, brutal slasher with a chase sequence that takes up most of the second act, actually. And it's one of the best slasher like cat and mouse chase sequences. I love it. It rivals the one good sequence in I Know What You Did Last Summer. And
you mean the whole movie?
Yeah. Just the chase. Well, yeah.
Sarcasm, Sam.
Oh, wait. You're not talking the whole movie like Sick. You're talking the whole movie. I know what you. Yeah, we disagree on that one. But yes, I'm a big Kevin Williamson fan. That's not one of my favorites. But yeah, it's very good. John Hyams, the director, is just and this violence is like unflinching. It's one of the more go for broke slashers like that I've seen in a while. And for me, that was enough. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. It loses some steam. Like the third act is going to be very divisive. I liked it. Execution left a little bit to be desired in the third act. Like I said, it just loses a little bit of the tension during the killer reveal and the motive and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. But then once I had like distanced myself from the movie and thought back on it, it worked a little bit more for me in hindsight. So I don't know. It's a very interesting movie, very good slasher. If you go into it just expecting to have fun with a tense, brutal home invasion knife flick, yeah, you're gonna dig this. Another first time watch. I finally got around to finishing the 1999 movie Idle Hands with Devon Sawa, Seth Green, and forgetting his name, but he's in like the Mighty Ducks and the new Daredevil movie or the new Daredevil series.
Oh yeah, one of the Bash brothers. Can't remember his name.
He's the OG Bash brother. Yeah. And this is this.
That's not the actor's name. That's the Mighty Ducks.
That's
character.
the name. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah. So those three, it's total '90s comedy about Devon Sawa as a stoner who just doesn't do anything except for smoke pot and watch TV all day, and he realizes one day that his hand is possessed by the devil. And it's essentially just the hand scene from Evil Dead 2 stretched out to feature length and with a whole bunch of stoner humor inserted into it. Some of this movie does not hold up well at all. Jessica Alba is literally just in it to look pretty and be ogled. But I also kind of had a great time with it at the same time. It's very stupid. But it was fun. It was a good, like, shut your brain off and laugh for an hour and a half, 3-star horror comedy. So yeah, recommend it. Idle Hands. Idle Hands. It was fun. One that I really recommend. I hope you watch this one sometime soon. I finally watched one that I've been meaning to on Shudder, an original, Who Invited Them. And it's about this couple who they've just moved into this very nice, very rich neighborhood in a very nice house, and they throw a housewarming party with all their friends. And in this opening sequence, it just like throws you right into the party, and you're getting all this information, and like all these people that are at this party are like shit talking them, like, oh gosh, it's just like they're throwing their money in our faces and all this stuff. And you think it's going one way, and then it's just there's this couple that just shows up, and you can tell that neither of the like two hosts know who these people are. Mm-hmm. Like, they did not invite them, but they're just there, and they're mingling, and it's just whatever. They just kind of pass it off as the other one invited them. And it's not until the party dies down and that couple is still there, like everybody leaves and that couple is still like lingering, that they realize, like, oh, neither one of us invited them. So then they start telling them that they're the neighbors, but there's just something off about it. And this goes on, and it's a very slow burn movie. Like, you're just kind of sitting with it's just kind of a hangout movie for the first, I'd say, about like hour of it. And then in the last 20 minutes, it like kicks into like, oh God, this is what it's doing. And there's not a lot of violence in this movie, but when the violence gets there, it's like, it's shocking and it's effective, and it's like, oh God. And the whole, like, the motives, the reveals, like, who are these people? It's so great. It's so much fun. I had a blast with it. And then there's like a tag at like just an epilogue scene at the end of the movie that I just thought really knocked it out of the park, landed really well, sent me through the credit reel with a big smile on my face. Just really, really fun, entertaining little thriller that, yeah, I really recommend. If you, especially if you like slow burn stuff with a little bit of a dark comedy bite, it's pretty decent.
Sounds a bit like Karen Kusama's The Invitation.
I've heard that comparison. I still need to watch that. Every time someone recommends it, I'm like, I know that movie feels like it's like made for me.
Yeah.
I love Kusama. I love movies like that with that like kind of premise. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I haven't hit play on that yet. One thriller, and I know you've seen this one. One thriller, I won't talk too much on this one, but I finally watched Watcher with Micah Monroe. Holy shit. That movie left me shaking at the end. Like, I finished it, and I reached for my coffee cup and my hand was quivering. I was like, oh my God. Like, I can't remember. Okay, never mind. It was Smile in the theater. But like, God, it takes a lot for a movie now to give me that kind of like visceral, like, oh God, I'm like actually shaking from that type of reaction. And Watcher did that. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it makes up for it with like some killer cinematography and some really tense set pieces. The train sequence, I was just like shaking my head the whole time, going, no, 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 no. Great movie. Great movie. I loved it. Watch Watcher on Netflix.
On Shudder.
Oh yeah, Shudder. God dang it! Why did I say Netflix?
I think there's a different. I think there's a different show called
There is
the Watcher.
The Watcher. Yeah, yeah.
Netflix, yeah.
I think that's maybe where I slipped up. And then I had two rewatches and then a couple TV shows. So my rewatches, I rewatched Red Eye for the first time in years. Wes Craven, early 2000s, the thriller, like kind of action thriller, really, with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Casey, I know you haven't seen this one. I really want to do like a whole episode where one of the movies we talk about is this one, because it's one of my, I think it's such an underrated Craven movie. It's stylistically very different than some of the stuff he's done, which I think is why it gets overlooked so much, because it's not really horror. It's definitely more in the like thriller category. But oh man, it's just two great performances from people anchoring this. Like Rachel McAdams is on a plane, and it starts as like almost a rom-com. Like that's how the whole first act plays out, is like a rom-com. She meets Cillian Murphy. They keep bumping into each other at the airport. She gets on the plane. He's in the seat right next to her. And all of a sudden a switch flips and he's like, "You're going to do something for me, or my people are going to kill your dad." And from there, it's just like white knuckle thriller all the way through. Comes so close to going off the rails in the third act, like very, very close. But it's Craven, so he manages to keep it at least slightly on track. I love it. And then I got really excited about the Caroline Williams news, so I rewatched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 again.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Bumped it up from a 3.5 to a 4 because I finished it. I logged on to Letterboxd. I'm like, the hell is this only at 3.5 stars for? This is easily a 4-star movie, and it might go higher, honestly, over the years, to be honest. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's great.
It's my favorite of the series.
Yeah. I think it's probably my favorite too. And then I've just been watching a lot of Be Cool Scooby-Doo. Have you watched this iteration of it? It's kind of like, it feels weird to say like it's a more humorous take on Scooby-Doo, because like Scooby-Doo's always been funny, but like it kind of reminds me of, it's not edgy adult animation, but it reminds me a little bit of adult animation. Just in the way things are presented, like it definitely feels like it's a comedy first, mystery second. And I don't know, I just like it. It's a good shut your brain off one. So that's the Scooby-Doo stuff that I've been gravitating towards, is Be Cool Scooby-Doo.
What Scooby stuff are you not gravitating towards?
We'll talk about it in a minute. And then I've been watching The Owl House, which Casey recommended to me. And Casey's only watched like 3 episodes of it.
I think we've watched the first 3 episodes of the show.
Yeah, you recommended it to me. You watched 3 episodes, and then I'm almost done with the whole thing that's out so far. There's 2 more 44-minute specials that are part of the 3rd season, which is also the final season. Screw you, Disney. But yeah, The Owl House is fantastic. It's about this human girl, Luz, who ends up going into this realm that's populated by witches. And even though humans don't have magical abilities, she decides to train and be a witch with Ida, the owl lady. And it's like seriously one of my favorite things ever. I love it. I've been watching it almost nonstop since I started. So yeah, check out The Owl House on Disney Plus. I can't believe I'm plugging a Disney thing on this podcast, but I really am. Like, I love it.
It's great. It's in that same realm of like Gravity Falls, of like, this is on Disney. Like they didn't pass and it ended up on Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. So yeah, The Owl House on Disney Plus.
Sam,
yeah,
I forgot a Doobie Doing.
You forgot a Doobie Doing?
I forgot one because I didn't put it on Letterboxd because it's a TV show. And it's Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Oh yeah, you caught that, didn't you? I still haven't watched that.
We watched all 10 episodes. I thought for the first 4 or 5 that, oh my gosh, we're gonna get 10 like banger episodes. There are a few I think that just don't work, but I think that's with any anthology. But man, I gotta highly recommend the show for everyone.
Sweet.
You can tell the the Del Toro episodes. You can tell episodes that are like inspired by Twilight Zone. Yeah, there's just a lot of good mixture of different types of horror in this. I'm just going to kind of run through each episode and give like a brief 1 or 2 sentences on it.
Yeah.
The first one is Lot 36, which is about this storage unit that ends up being owned by a person who is part of a satanic cult, and gets sold on like the Storage Wars type of thing, where you buy a storage unit out of the blue.
Yep.
Yeah, and so yeah, that one was great. Tim Blake Nelson is the lead as this
nice
racist prick, and he's
oh
so good.
God,
he's so good.
Yep, I bet he is.
The next one is called Graveyard Rats, which is about a grave robber who ends up having to stop rats that are stealing the jewelry and the bodies that he's trying to rob. And it goes
weird,
a little crazy.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. One of my favorites of the show. But my overall favorite is the third episode, The Autopsy, which reminds me a lot of The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. If you like autopsy horror, I think that's another great one to add to that edition. The next one is called The Outside, which is from the director from A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Actually, I'm not.
It's an Iranian vampire skateboarding,
and it's movie. It's not animated, but the poster has that like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
Red and then a like black and white.
Yep.
Woman.
Yep. Yeah. So I've wanted to see that one. I've heard it's very good.
Yeah. This is like the Twilight Zone episode where it's about this woman who doesn't like fit in with like social norms of like what women should look like according to TV and movies. So she begins to use this cream that all her coworkers are using. And Dan Stevens is in this one, and he plays the like salesman of this cream on TV, and he's so great, and he's the best part of it.
Dan Stevens is the best part of like everything he's in.
This next one is called Pickman's Model, which is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. And all I need to say is H.P. Lovecraft combined with Crispin Glover.
Yeah, that is all you need to say. I'm sold on that.
Yep. The next the next one is called Dreams in the Witch House, another H.P. Lovecraft. This one might have been my least favorite of this series. Yeah, if I was gonna say skip one, it'd be this one. It just doesn't fully work, doesn't fully lean into the Lovecraftness of it. Kind of goes more into like it's about like ghosts and stuff, and it kind of leans more Disney Channel than it does Lovecraft with its representation of ghosts, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite of the series. One that is getting a lot of fanfare is The Viewing, Panos Cosmatos segment.
He's the guy who did Mandy, correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's maybe all I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all I'll say. It's just the guy from Mandy doing a segment of this where this rich guy played by RoboCop himself, Peter Weller, invites all these other super smart people to like basically bear witness to something he found or came across. And then the last one is called The Murmuring, is directed by Jennifer Kent, who did The Babadook. And this is
great director.
Based on a Del Toro story. This is the most Del Toro of all of them. Reunites Essie Davis with Jennifer Kent and Andrew Lincoln, and they play a husband and wife that go stay on this island that only has this one house that they stay in, and they take photos of birds, but they realize that these birds are somehow connected to this house. And there's kind of a family mystery within their own and within the family that used to live there. Very Del Toro once you get to the end of it. Highly
Okay.
recommend. One of my favorites of the show for sure.
That's awesome.
All right, let's talk about a bad show
Cool.
instead.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go too far into it, right? We talked a little bit before. Like, we don't remember a lot of plot details about this show, guys. It's just blurring together.
Velma.
Velma.
Episodes, what is it, 3 through 6 that
3
have come
through
out?
6. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much else different than what we said when we talked about the first 2 episodes. The tone of the show is still the same. The characters are still just grating and not what I would want. A lot of groan-worthy humor. I still don't think it's very funny. I still think the biggest laugh out loud moment I've gotten is Fred's dad selling ascot.
The ascot commercial.
I still think that's the funniest thing.
It's funny
but the mystery is starting to unravel.
Yeah. I actually like 1/6 of this show. I thought episode 6 was at least, it felt the most out of this entire series, like it was kind of trying to be a Scooby-Doo show, where it was trying to introduce the mystery. The characters are starting, like, you can kind of start seeing like where they're maybe going with the characters. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get to a satisfactory point with the characters at the end of the season, but because they butchered the first half of this season so far, I don't think we're going to get a season 2.
No.
I don't think we're going to get a satisfying payoff to these character arcs that they're setting up, which is only a detriment further to the show. That said, I kind of am with you now, where there is one thing that's really keeping me going, and honestly, it's Fred. Like, Fred's really fucking funny in this show. I love that Velma gave him the feminist mystique to read, and now he's finding the inner beauty in everybody, but he's still doing it in his douchey Fred way.
Super condescending way.
Like, he's such an ass about it, but he's trying to be a better person, and it's really funny. Like, I think what I like about Fred is that it's not that it feels like Fred. It's not that it feels like Scooby-Doo. It's not that it's even particularly good, but it feels like a dumb B plot on Sunny that I would be laughing at. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, well, it's still not good, but it's at least giving me some laughs. Whereas, like, anytime I'm spending with the other characters, I'm not laughing. And that's an issue, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be laughing with all of them.
It's an adult comedy TV show. It's an, you know, we are supposed to be laughing throughout this. I think Fred is the one that going into this show, I was expecting the whole show to be where he is still underneath the surface. He's still Fred Jones.
Yeah.
But he's Fred Jones turned up to 11.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else doesn't feel like the classic Scooby-Doo character at all. Whereas Fred still holds kind of the core elements of who Fred Jones is. There's a character.
It's like Glenn Howerton is taking what Freddie Prinze Jr. did in the live action movies. And like you said, he's cranking it up.
Yeah.
Because everything he's doing reminds me of that scene in the first live action Scooby-Doo movie where Fred's like trying to console Velma and he goes, no, I'm a man of substance. And dorky chicks like you turn me on too.
Yeah.
And that's what Fred's character is in this show. And that's hilarious to me.
There's one, I think Daphne's getting closer as we're moving on.
She's getting better. Yeah.
She at least has really the B story in this entire series of like figuring out who her parents are, which is when the payoff happens in these episodes, it's awful and grown worthy. And
it's very anticlimactic and like kind of just like, oh,
it's like you're already dragging the Scooby Gang through the blood or through the blood. Yeah, through the blood and the dirt. Why are you dragging Captain Caveman into this? Like, leave him out of it. What'd he do?
Yeah. So that was one thing that was kind of weird is like all of a sudden there's all these other Hanna-Barbera characters popping up. And that was really jarring for me because I'm like,
like Scooby does that, but like this show doesn't feel appropriate for introducing all the other Hanna-Barbera
Well, yeah, and
characters,
it doesn't
right?
feel like there's any purpose to it other than to
Besides
just
the
have
reference.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because the Jetsons were in the hospital and like they were having a baby, and I'm just like, why though? Like what?
Doesn't the amusement park have like a cutout of Fred and
Yeah,
Wilma? Like maybe that's
yeah,
in the
yeah. The
preview for the next
Flintstones
episode.
are
Yeah.
the Flintstones were in it at some point. Like there was a Flintstone thing.
Yeah.
There were the
It's
Jetsons
dumb.
showed up, Captain Caveman showed up, and then now you've got like you're doing more with the drugs being called like jinkies and whatever, and
The biggest sin
you
of
also
all.
have you also have Scooby being a government brainwashing program. I'm like, what? Like
Just
what?
leave.
And then the worst thing was the line afterwards. Well, what does Scooby do? And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay,
I
I
almost shut
know
the
that you
show off
have
and been like, we're done.
like I know you have writers that are better than that. Like you have
Do
writers
they?
who are
Do they? They're
I think
making
what's
this show.
happening I think what's happening is the I don't know. I hate to use the term lazy writing, but that's what it feels
Oh
like.
yeah.
Like, and I know writing a show is hard. I am not denigrating the work that these people are putting into it, but like that's just the lowest hanging fruit. Why
Mhm.
would you go? But that's what they've been doing like the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I still wouldn't recommend this show, but at
Yeah.
least now I'm kind of like invested in certain aspects. Like it's not,
I'm invested in the mystery,
yeah,
but I'm not invested in any of the characters. Whereas any other Scooby Doo thing, I can't think of
yeah.
anything else where I'm like
I could give a
invested
shit
in the
less about the
mystery.
mystery,
Yeah.
but like I love the
You want
characters.
to hang out with the Scooby Gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest cardinal sin of this series is like you can make the Scooby Doo gang flawed. Like I think Mystery Incorporated does a very good job of that. The animated kind of darker TV
Mm-hmm.
series. Um, I think that does a lot of the things that Velma is actually doing, but I think it does it better because the characters still have that like an accessibility to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still the characters. They're still likable characters. And I think the issue is like aside from I guess I wouldn't even call Fred likable at this
Mm-hmm.
point. But like you know what
No.
I mean? I just I don't enjoy spending time with these characters, especially Norval. I really like I
He's the
don't
worst. He is the worst. I don't
and
like
he was the one I was the most
hanging out with
excited for
Shaggy.
because how
Yeah.
do you get Sam freaking Richardson to voice Shaggy and have it be that boring? You know,
Shaggy's the worst in this show. He's
he
the
is.
worst. And I hate him
And
on the screen every time he shows up. I don't want him there. I'd rather just Daphne,
they
Fred,
don't
and
know what to
Velma.
do with him.
No.
They have no idea what to do with him. And it's a bummer. It's starting to
Yes.
really bum me out. It's starting to really
Yeah.
like the rest of the show, I'm like, I'm starting to vibe with at least a little bit. Like I'm tuning into its wavelength at least, so it's not like, oh god, I'm just hate watching this. You know, I'm like,
Oh, I am
I'm just gonna
100% hate watching this
just gonna
show now.
watch this for what it is, you know.
Yeah.
And if I don't like it, I don't like it. If I do like it, hey, at least I liked something. I mildly enjoyed episode 6. So
Yeah.
it
Hey,
gets
we have what, 4 more episodes to go? One more time
yeah,
doing this on the podcast. That I'm ready to be done with it.
yeah,
Let's move on
yeah,
from the show. It's awful.
yeah. And hopefully the next Scooby-Doo thing that comes out we'll both really enjoy.
Yes.
Hopefully we have another like trick or treat Scooby-Doo that comes out soon because
Yeah.
God, that was such a fun one.
That was.
So.
Do you have anything else for Doobie doing?
No, I got nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out my other things besides watches then. Quickly.
Cool.
Quickly. All right, first up, a new movie I picked up. Well, 2 movies. I picked up the Vestron, 2-pack of The Dentist from Brian Usna. I've been picking up pretty much all the horror Vestrons because I don't know. For me, boutique movies, I'm not gonna pay like $40 for.
But Vestron
But
is
Vestron,
cheaper.
like these are like $13.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. And they do a
Oh
great
yeah.
job and tons of special features in it. This is it's definitely the most like affordable boutique label that you can get, these
Yeah.
Vestron
I agree.
movies. I've seen The First Dentist, liked it a lot. I'm a big Brian Usna fan. I haven't seen the second one. I am excited to check it out. So yeah, I'm excited to watch the first one again and watch the second one. They're fun movies.
Yeah.
The next one I was super stoked when I got this.
Yeah.
So I walked to our local comic book store, Rainbow Comics, and there, just sitting on a table, was this box with Mr. Frederick Krueger on it. And it is a NECA Freddy Krueger, A Nightmare on Elm Street accessory pack, specifically Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, my favorite of the series. So I'll show off some of the things that were in there. It came with 2 Elm Street signs. So like this is like
Oh yeah.
just a normal street sign, and this is like
Oh, the nightmare one.
the
Yep.
Nightmare Dream World Elm Street sign. So those are cool to have.
That's so cool.
Man, I got a kick out of these when I open them. This is the Welcome to Prime Time, bitch, the TV
Yep.
Freddy Krueger.
Oh, dude, that's dope.
Comes with the Freddy head with the rabbit ears sticking out and the giant arms. I don't know who I'm gonna put in there. And it also has like a thing I can hang it on my wall.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can make an actual display. This thing is just massive. And it also has the Freddy worm, as you can see, like this is bigger than my head.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
It's giant. The head does move just up and down.
That's so cool.
So, like I already have the NECA Freddy from part 3, and having him like next to this is incredible. I was like a kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah, I bet, dude. That's awesome.
Getting this. So this is super cool. I don't really have a whole lot of like accessories with the figures I have. So as soon as I saw this, I'm like, yeah, I need this. This is coming home.
Yeah.
With me. So yeah, I'll probably pick up more of the NECA like accessory stuff for other things. I know they're doing like all the Universal monsters are getting like accessory packs. I'm like, man, that's a lot. I want them though. They look cool. So
Hey, yeah. Whatever makes you happy, man. You gotta do it.
gotta do it.
Even if it's just spending money on toys.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, nothing has changed since I was a child. I just don't buy Star Wars toys anymore. It's Freddy Krueger stuff.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
But that's it. That's all I got for Doobie Doing.
Sweet.
Cool.
So now we've got our main topic, which I'm actually really excited to talk about. Like, I'm excited to talk about both of these movies, but weirdly enough, like, I'm excited to talk about the one that I think I liked less more.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So the movies we are going to be talking about, we've got Cabin Fever, because we're staying at a cabin in the woods. So we're talking 2002's Cabin Fever, and the date I'm putting on it is 2012's Cabin in the Woods. But
yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that's when it was finally like released and stuff. I think
I've seen 2011, but it was like shot in 2010, and
it was kicked around a lot. It was very much like a trick or treat situation. It wasn't until Hemsworth was like a big Thor star that they were like, "Oh, maybe we can put this out and people watch
Thor's
it
in a movie that we made. Let's release it."
And to be honest, I watched it mainly because I was like, "Oh, it's a horror movie that was co-written by the guy who did the Avengers, starring Chris Hemsworth." I was like, "Yeah, I'll watch that." And I gotta say, I love this movie. It's one of my favorites.
You want to start with that one, Cabin?
Sure. Because I feel like
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods. I feel like this one, like, here's the thing. Cabin in the Woods to me is like a 5-star banger. I know you don't, but I love this movie. I love this movie with my heart and soul. I like, but it's not a discussion heavy movie, I don't think. Um it's
Mm,
I don't know.
yeah, there's
Maybe
not
it
like
is.
a ton of deep themes in this movie. So yeah,
Yeah. It's just I mean it's
I mean, there's not in Cabin Fever either, but
yeah, but I don't know. There's just something about Cabin Fever that stuck with me for a
Cabin.
while.
So Cabin in the Woods. The first time I watched this
Yeah,
was
let's do that. Let's do history with it.
like you said, knowing that Hemsworth is in it, written by Joss Whedon. Uh, it was definitely after Avengers had come out that I watched this
Yep.
movie. It was at a movie night, and we're like, let's just find a horror movie that's streaming that sounds kind of cool. And so we came across Cabin in the Woods, probably on Netflix, and we all put it on. And spoilers throughout this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh, as soon as Hemsworth takes the motorcycle and drives off the cliff and hits the wall, we all
Yeah.
turned on the movie to hating it.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
It is not the movie we wanted to watch that night. And so I always had that bad taste in my mouth because we were looking for like an Evil Dead type of movie. We were looking for the movie
Yeah.
that this movie's satirizing.
Yeah, I get that. I get
And
that.
so as soon as that happened, we were like, yeah, what's going on here? This isn't what we wanted. But I've gone back and rewatched it, and I kind of fluctuate every time. But this time was positive, but not like
Not glowing.
not glowing.
Yeah. I
I
get
think I'm on
that.
a different wavelength than most people with this movie.
I think I think it's funny. I think we're probably gonna like almost flip flop opinions on these movies because I feel like that's how I am with like Cabin Fever, where I very much, yeah. We'll talk about Cabin in the Woods first, though. We'll get to Cabin Fever. What am I doing? I'm getting ahead of
We're
myself.
on different opinions. I
Yeah,
know that already.
yeah,
But what was the first
yeah.
time you watched it? This
So
one.
the first time I watched it, I like sucked. I seeked this out on DVD. Um, the day that it like came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna go watch it. And I did. I went out to Target, picked it up, brought it home, watched it, did not like it. I was like, that was a waste of $15. Like I was like, the ending soured me. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
where did that even come from? What is like, but then like as I went on, I was like, God, there were things I really liked about it. Marty. Um,
The
he's
best part of this
he's
movie.
he's the he's like maybe my favorite slasher character of all time. I love Marty.
He's great.
Um, so I rewatched it about 6 months later, and it clicked. Just like everything worked. I was like, oh my God, the script is not necessarily smart, but it's more clever. There's more setup in the beginning than I gave it credit for initially. Like, essentially, Marty tells you in the first act exactly how this movie's going to end. Like, they're talking in the van and they're like, oh, is society crumbling, Marty? And he goes, no, society's filling in the cracks. Pretty soon there's just going to be nowhere left. Society needs to crumble. And they like rolls his joint. And like on first watch, you don't think anything of that line. On second watch, it's like, God damn, he's telling you exactly what's going to happen by the end of this movie. Like he's telling you exactly the thesis of the movie. And I don't know. I think it's I think it's fun. I think it's fun getting there. I love the Hemsworth scene where he gets
Oh, I think it's
knocked out,
hilarious
and
now.
I
Yeah.
think it's like I think it's one of the best scenes in the movie because it's just so shocking. I've seen it. I've seen it countless times, dude. And every time that scene happens, I still gasp a little bit.
Oh,
It's like, oh shit, like yeah, so I mean my history with it is yeah, I did not like this movie the first time I watched it. Watched it the second time, I loved it. And there was one, I want to say it was like the October of 2013. I'm pretty sure I watched this 31, actually over 31 times in the month of October because I watched it every day in the month of
why?
October.
Why?
because I love it. I loved it, and I was a
You're a crazy
weird
person.
person back then. Yes.
Back then?
Um, yeah, I don't do that kind of shit anymore though. I can't watch the same movie for 31 days straight.
15 times in a month, not 31.
Yeah, yeah. It's like every other day, not every day now. But yeah, no, I did. And there was one day I vividly remember, like, I watched this mid-afternoon because it was when I was working nights at Schwann. So like I just all day, that's all I did. I just sat and watched movies, and I'd get up and go do my night shift. And one day I watched it mid-afternoon, and all of a sudden my friends are texting me to come hang out, and I went over to someone's house, and they were like, "What are we gonna watch?" And one of the only DVDs they had was Cabin in the Woods, and I watched it twice that day, and I loved it. I just, yeah, man, this movie doesn't get old for me. I watch this one at least once a year. So yeah, that's kind of my history with Cabin in the Woods. It grew on me over time.
So okay, so the movie opens with we get Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins as the two employees of this
Of
kind
this
of
facility.
this underground organization that manufactures basically horror movies to happen in real life to appease the gods, these unknown entities that they're trying to please. I think these two have really good chemistry. I think they're both really funny. Maybe Bradley Whitford a little bit more than Richard Jenkins, but I think that it's kind of the dynamic that they always have. That
Yeah.
Richard Jenkins tends to play more of a straight man, even if he's in a comedy.
Oh yeah.
But he's
Yeah,
also
for sure.
still very, very funny anytime he does it.
Yeah. Dry and sarcastic,
Yep.
and yeah. And Bradley Whitford's kind of the goofy one. Like,
goofy slime ball type.
yeah. Yeah. He's
Eric from Billy Madison, one of the best villains of the 90s.
One of my favorite Bradley Whitford moments is when he's like lamenting about Dana. He's just like, God, sometimes I think I find myself just rooting for strength and the power. I just really respect it. Tequila is my lady. Yeah. I just that like delivery is so perfect. It cracks me up every time. Yeah. Yeah, man. So yeah, like the opening, they're having like a totally mundane conversation that like any two coworkers would have. Like Bradley Whitford's complaining because his wife is childproofing all of his cabinets, and like they're driving through this on this like little golf cart through a facility, and he's like, so are you gonna come over this week and help me liberate my cabinets? Are you even listening to me? Title card, jump scare, like big old shriek sound effect. And from that moment, I'm hooked into this movie because it catches you off guard. The first time it caught me off guard, and I was like, I don't like that because it's like weird. There's the
I still don't like it.
No, still don't.
I still don't. I don't think it works for me.
Okay, makes sense.
Because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you know what I mean? Where like they are having this mundane conversation, boom, title card, Cabin in the Woods, scary music. I get what they're going for, I guess, but I don't know. It just doesn't totally work for me. And then when you get to the kind of our teens, but college age, main characters,
our college kids.
Yeah. God, I hate all of them.
They're all playing like caricatures.
They eventually are. And I think that's my biggest problem with this movie. Marty is okay. You can sort of see the characters that they're portraying that we're perceiving as an audience. Marty especially, out of all of them, because he just rolls up and he's already smoking.
He's got the coffee mug. I
was gonna say
mug bong. That's the best thing ever.
His bong folds down into a coffee mug, and it's the funniest thing and one of the best payoffs of the movie. But the problem I have is he's the most three-dimensional character. And
Yeah,
it's not that that's a
he's the
problem.
final boy.
It's that everyone else is so goddamn boring.
I think
They
that's
are
kind of by design, though. Like,
and but that's my okay. So
yeah,
my problem is that they should be interesting in the beginning and have like very distinct characteristics and characters and motivations, but as the movie goes on, that devolves into the stereotypes, and that's what the movie
yeah.
trying to present. But we don't know anyone before they like start pumping the gas and stuff into the cabin, and we get Hemsworth as the jock, and his girlfriend as like the slutty blonde, and the virgin final girl, and
Well, because
the book smart guy. All we get is dialogue, and I'm a
yeah,
show don't tell person. The movie straight up tells you, oh, they've never acted like this before. I'm like, I don't know that because I've never seen them act any other way besides that.
yeah, but that makes, I mean, here's the thing. With the way it plays out, I get what you're saying. I think it's a catch 22 because if you add stuff in before that of like, oh, this is how the characters are, and then all of a sudden you see them, it takes some of the mystery out of it. I like slowly revealing through like the conversations in the control room how like you find out that they're making her the dumb blonde because of the hair dye. They're doing all these different things. If you I don't know. I don't know if adding more would ruin the pacing of the movie a little bit. But I also I don't disagree with what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think no matter what, there's going to be a problem with that execution a little bit. Because I agree. Like I know I give this 5 stars, but I give a lot of imperfect movies 5 stars because
Like,
I'm passionate.
our final girl, Dana, she's so boring in this movie. I'm sorry, she's just the
I
most
think she's
boring.
funny.
She's so boring. Again, it's revealed at the end when Sigourney Weaver comes in, and we need the virgin, and she's like, "Virgin, like."
Yeah, we make do with what we have.
With what
Yeah.
we have, open the movie with her like sleeping with a guy.
Yeah, that actually, because they do
Right?
like they mentioned the college professor thing, so like like okay, she's obviously like not like, oh, innocent, I don't know what I'm doing type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I get what you mean. I
Show
get
don't
what you
tell.
mean.
Yeah.
This movie is not show don't tell. That's not this movie. It really
No.
isn't. And I
Which
will
is a
like 100.
very Joss Whedon, Drew
Yeah.
Goddard thing. Which
Whoa.
I
Okay. Hey, don't you go be going for my boy Drew Goddard. Joss Whedon, fuck that guy. But Drew Goddard gave us one of the best movies of the 2010s in Bad Times at the El Royale.
I never watched that, but
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love it. I feel like I'm in a minority on that one, but it's tremendous. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Characters I don't like in this.
Okay.
But Marty, I think he is the best written,
He's
and
got a husband's bolt.
I love that he's the character that figures everything out, and I kind of wish the movie just ended with just him. I wish he was the final guy. I wish we didn't have a final girl, and I think that would have fit the movie and subverting our horror expectations already.
Yeah.
We already expect the stoner is going to die at some point because the stoner never lives. Also, the guy never lives. We need to
Do you think like
subvert that, and that's what
killing
the movie's giving.
Dana down in the like, because I think Dana's an integral part of the third act right up until, I don't know. I think when the werewolf attacks her, she could die at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it changed the movie much.
Yeah.
That said, I don't mind the little interaction they have right before everything ends. I think it's kind of great.
I also don't love the ending, so I guess that leans
okay,
into why I think it's okay for her to die.
Okay. See, oh man, I think the ending is one of the strongest parts of the movie, but I'm also like, I'll admit that as I've gotten older, I've gotten much more nihilistic where I'm like, God, it would be nice to just like have a giant hand come down from the sky and just like, I just don't know if humans need to. Like, this movie's thesis is very nihilistic, but I'm also like, it's got a point. Like, it's a little bit like the Sam Jackson and the Kingsman movie. It's like, it's got a point.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it's right, but
it doesn't mean it's right, but
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a scene, especially when I was in high school and watching this the first couple times we watched it. There's a couple of things that really stand out as like these are the scenes aimed towards that high school audience, especially with Chris Hemsworth's girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Does
she's
the
there
dance,
for just eye candy.
does the dance with like the wolf on the wall, and I'm like, this is
okay. Can I say something though about that
scene?
It's awkward, but it's intense. Okay, so here's my reading of that scene. This is before like the door blows open. This is before you really know anything about what's happening in that control room. And the way that that wolf head is framed before and even as she like approaches it is very menacing. The way that scene's lit, the way it's staged, blocked. I still to this day watch that sequence and think, a wolf's gonna come alive and bite her fucking face off. And I don't know if that's just like a weird reaction that I personally have, or if they meant for that to be the case. But every time I watch that, I'm like, oh my God, like this is gonna be the time. It's like when I was a little kid and I was, watching The Lion King, and I'm like, no, this is gonna be the time that Scar wins. Because I was rooted for the Disney villains.
Makes sense why you like this ending.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how I feel watching that scene. Is like, it's like there's a little bit of like titillation where it's like, oh God, like she's doing hot stuff, dancing with a wolf or whatever. But it's also like very unnerving and gross because you're like, ew, that's a dead wolf head. And then it's also scary. I don't know. That scene works for me on so many levels. I'm just like, it's weird. It feels out of place in the rest of the movie, I think, a little bit. But I also wouldn't take it out. I'm like, no, that's kind of it's just a dope scene. It's just a dope scene, in my opinion. I like that one.
I don't.
I get why you don't.
I don't. I think it's one of the most.
It's uncomfortable.
It's not even uncomfortable. It's just awkward, and it's like, why is this in here? I don't get anything out of the scene at all. I just don't think
you don't get anything out of Marty calling it a moose.
Okay, that's funny, but like he could have just gave that line at any point. Also, okay, so there's another thing, the two-way mirror. Do we ever get a payoff with the two-way mirror?
No.
Okay. All right, to the basement. To the basement. I bring that up because
everybody dies.
They spend so much time on that two-way mirror, and there could have been something to build some tension in this with that two-way mirror, and they just don't ever do anything with it.
I think the two-way mirror does its job though, because it's the first thing that they notice when they get to the cabin, and it's the first thing that tips them off that something might not be quite right there. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily know if it needs a bigger payoff than that. I think it just delivers that important information. I think it's one of the few times that the movie actually does show and not tell. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm just playing devil's advocate with you, I guess. Like
okay, so I like the basement stuff, especially the payoff to it later, where it's the basement from Evil Dead that they go into. Yeah. Instead of reading from the Necronomicon, they read this. What is it? A diary?
It's a diary from like the little zombie girl.
Yep. And there's a million other things. Each of them are holding something that could unlock a certain evil,
The
including
conch with the merman.
including the mermaid, which has a great payoff. I think it's one of the best joke payoffs in the entire movie
Oh yeah.
is the setup of the mermaid throughout the entire movie. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
best jokes and payoffs of the movie.
And the reveal of it, like the suit, the merman design is
Yeah.
like actually terrifying. And then when he starts eating Bradley Whitford and like all the blood starts coming out of the blowhole on the
Yeah.
back, I'm like,
So
oh,
funny.
that's such a gnarly effect. I love it. And the unicorn stabbing the
Oh, it's great.
lab tech is just fantastic. Oh, I love this movie. The third act is so fucking bananas.
Yeah, the third act is great when you figure out what's going on and all hell is unleashed. That is easily the best part of this movie, and
Yeah.
really like lives up to the premise of the movie and the full potential of it. And again, not to be just harping on the things I don't like. That's why the first half of this movie just doesn't work as well, because I do really like the second half, where I wish the energy was still up there in the first half of this movie
Okay.
to balance it out. Whereas I feel like it is very back end heavy.
Okay. I could see that. I could see that. I think Marty carries me through most of this movie, to be honest. I do think
he's the best part of that first half.
I do think there's a little bit of a like I will admit there's a little bit of a lull when you think he's dead, like after he gets dragged into the hole and like dies. Just because he's not there to give that like kind of spark of like levity, which maybe that section of the movie doesn't necessarily need that, but it's a horror comedy. Have levity through the whole thing, you know? I think the movie picks up again. Like I think the movie fucking floors it once he comes back into the picture,
Yeah.
And then doesn't let up until the end. And that's where like that movie for me really hits its stride, and in my opinion pays off a lot from like the first two acts that I appreciate. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from on this. I'm kind of glad that we finally did an episode on this movie, because I know we've like briefly talked about it, but like it's good to actually hear why you have bad taste instead of just
just loving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like some of it, and I've been on the side of like, oh, this is a great horror comedy, where now I'm like very lukewarm on it. And it's part of it is like people comparing this to Scream and saying, oh, this is on the level of Scream level of meta horror. I'm like, man, no, it's not.
Okay, first off,
get why people
nothing is
love
on
it.
the level of Scream.
No.
Like I love this movie, but nothing is on the level of Scream.
There's a movie I talked about already that I think is close, but it's not.
Are you talking Tucker and Dale?
It's not
like I love
Scream,
Tucker and Dale
but
too, but I just don't think anything has come close to touching Scream and what it did.
So the end of this movie, I know we're just kind of jumping around, but there's not a lot that happens in the second act that besides the Hemsworth scene, right?
Yeah, because
for me that's the biggest
really
lull.
kind of it, because he just gets stabbed through the neck while he's driving the RV. It's kind of anticlimactic. I do like the sex scene where they're like controlling the pheromones in the air and everything, and they have to like she has to take her top off or else the sacrifice doesn't work, and that kind of thing. Like I think that's a very you're like you're in the control room being the voice. Like every teenage, I mean, you were a teenage boy. Like there were a lot of times that we picked movies because they had nudity in them. Like
the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes horror movies were just literally a chance to see boobs and some blood, you know? And so like taking that aspect of it, of like horror fandom, the horror genre, and like putting you in an uncomfortable voyeuristic seat where you're like, you feel kind of gross watching that scene play out, because you're watching it with people who are controlling it and not giving like it's such a weird scene because it's like it's funny, but it's also very disturbing. It's very like, and the whole premise of this movie is very disturbing. Like, oh my god, because when I was rewatching this, I was rewatching it with Maria, and she she's kind of like you. I think she likes it, but it's not like a, oh, I love that, I'm gonna
Mhm.
put that on anytime. She said like, I don't even know if it's disturbing because there are people like doing this. I think it's disturbing because if you put yourselves in their shoes, you do the same thing. Like if I were in that control room and I knew that an evil god was going to come destroy everything, if I didn't make these two people have sex and get killed, I think I'd still do it. And I'm like, yeah, that is the terrifying thing, isn't it? Like it is like a deeply uncomfortable watch, especially in that scene, because you're like, ugh, like I wouldn't do this differently. But you have that like moral compass where you're like, especially in the character of like the security guard who's new, he's still like very much kind of iffy on all of it. Um, I don't know. I think the control room stuff is just fascinating. I love the sex scene and how it kind of like flips it on its head where it feels sleazy and not a good way, but it's that way by design. I don't know. It's just it inceptioned me, man. That's what it did.
Yeah.
This movie's like Inception. I'm just Killian Murphy, and this movie's Leo DiCaprio just fucking with my brain.
This movie is Inception. It just puts you to sleep. Um, no, one of my favorite parts in the second half of this movie, and I think it's maybe my favorite commentary on horror,
Yeah,
is that you have all the other countries trying to make sacrifices too, and it's the
yeah,
Japan one where no one dies and they defeat the evil, and I'm like,
and turned it into a happy frog.
yeah, I'm like, that is so accurate because like no one dies in like Japanese horror movies.
Yep, yep. Oh man, I know. I love
It's super
watching
funny.
all of the different screens when they kind of give you a glimpse at like the different types. Like there's
Yeah.
like some atomic horror and some creature features and stuff, and I'm like, I know that they've said like, oh, we'd never make a sequel to Cabin in the, like it'd be hard, obviously, like you can't make a sequel to this movie, but I would love to see some like alternate perspectives of like
Yeah, like
different the different
a
control
web
rooms.
series or a
Yeah,
Netflix 10-part series that are 20 minutes long about all the other
yeah,
monsters and
where it's
stuff.
kind of like sending up the different cultures and like what their horror tropes are, because horror is very different from
Mm-hmm.
country to country, and I think it'd be cool to do something like, oh, we do have like a Japanese ghost story, we have an Italian giallo type of, I don't know, I think that would be really cool. I think it would. I mean, can you imagine like the Indonesian one? Oh my god, that one would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love all the references in the second act of this movie. Well, third act, I guess. When we get when shit starts to hit the fan, you get like this. I
The
don't know,
Cenobite from
like their
Wish.
their Hellraiser Pinhead character. You get like the twins from The Shining. You
Yep.
get almost
Oh,
like
the
a Silent
ballerina
Hill.
with the teeth face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God. And
So
the werewolf jump scare always gets me. Like I know it's coming, but it's still like when he comes out of the dark, it's like Jesus.
mhm.
Yeah.
All right. The ending. I don't know.
Sigourney Weaver,
I don't have much else.
expedition dump.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say about it. I wish Marty was the only one that survived, and I wish it was just him smoking out of his mug to end the movie.
Yeah. I don't
And that was
know.
it.
I do like the idea and the imagery of two characters who've just been through hell and they know the world's about to end, and they're in this like big underground temple thing that's starting to collapse, and they're just like, we're gonna share a joint and just talk about what a bug fuck weekend this was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the movie ends. Like they smoke a joint and the world ends. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't know. To me, that's just like a chef's kiss ending. But it's also like, I don't know. That's how I'd end a horror movie. That's 100% how I'd end a horror movie. But
All right.
I get it.
What would you give this movie, Sam?
I fluctuate between 4 and 5 stars. I think I gave it 5 stars on this last one. Probably not a 5 star movie, but I just love it. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
What did you give it? Because I didn't even look at your Letterboxd.
I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, we're
Kind of just a
we're fairly
middle of the road for me.
yeah, I get that. I think we're gonna be fairly flip floppy on like these movies.
Yeah, we are. All right. Our second movie from 10 years earlier, 2002, and maybe the most 2002 movie to ever 2002, Cabin Fever, the feature directorial debut of Eli Roth.
Who is in 2 different roles in this movie.
2 different roles within 2 minutes of each other, which
it was
is
so funny.
hilarious.
In my notes, I went like, ooh, fun Eli Roth cameo. And then I wrote like maybe one other note, and then it was like, oh, second Eli Roth cameo. Yeah. He likes to cameo.
Yeah, he does. I don't know what Tarantino saw in him in this movie to be like, yeah, Inglourious Bastards.
He's actually pretty good in that movie, though. I think.
Oh, he is. Yeah. Here though, he's just playing.
Oh God,
a version of Eli Roth.
Yeah.
But do you remember the first time you watched this movie? Because I don't, but I remember the first time I watched it, I really liked it, and that was probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. I didn't remember a whole lot besides bits and pieces until I rewatched it for this.
So this movie came out on DVD like right around the time I was really starting to get invited over to like friends' houses where we'd just be watching horror movies all night. Like we'd all spend the night in a friend's basement and we watch horror movies from dusk until dawn. And at that time, I did not like horror. Like I was not a horror kid. I was scared of everything. And I remember this movie starting and it being like, oh wow, like all these characters are like using like really shitty language and stuff. And I was just kind of like taken aback by it. And then it got really gross. And it got to the leg scene. And I'm pretty sure I cut out at that point. Like, I'm pretty sure I was like, no, I can't finish this. I can't do it. So I probably went upstairs and like raided the fridge for munchies. Or just ironically enough, got out my Game Boy Advance, which makes an appearance in the first like 3 minutes of this movie. I was like, but yeah, I remember thinking like, wow, that's a really gross movie. I don't ever want to watch that again. And I haven't watched it since then. I'd seen like clips and stuff, you know, and because I watched Eli Roth's History of Horror, and I'm pretty sure like clips of this are featured pretty heavily on one of those episodes. But yeah, the leg scene always stuck with me. So when you were like, let's do Cabin Fever, I was like, I'll give it another shot. I doubt I'm going to like it very much. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting, to be honest, dude. Like I'm not going to lie, I kind of vibed with this one. I don't think it all holds up, but what does hold up is pretty fucking stellar. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my history with it.
For this movie coming out in 2002 and being Eli Roth's first movie, I still think it's my favorite Eli Roth. I just like the fact that this movie pays homage to so much that came before it. Everything that Eli Roth talks about in like history of horror, and I think the thing I love most about Eli Roth is not him as a writer or a director. It's him as an advocate for horror. which I
Yeah,
think is
100%.
his biggest strength, and he's the reason I got into Fulci, especially, is because of Eli Roth. Italian horror, like, he's the guy that opened me up to that.
He's
Of
big into that stuff.
He is, and there's so many influences to that in this movie here that I didn't catch the first time I watched it, because by the time I watched this for the first time, I had no idea, like, Fulci, Argento, anything like that.
Yeah.
I kind of knew, like, the baseline of, like, by then I had obviously seen, like, Chainsaw Massacre and Evil Dead, and there's big references to those in this movie too. But watching it this time, if this feels like a 2002 Italian horror movie, and it's kind of weird to see those things kind of intermingled. The dialogue,
Yeah.
it does not hold up
No.
in this.
The acting's pretty bad too.
Yeah, the acting isn't great. I think there's a lot of funny performances though in this movie.
Yeah.
One in
Some of them
particular,
unintentionally, but yeah.
yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Maybe we should just go through each character, because I think the characters in this movie, compared to the last movie where I'm like, I only care about one of you, most everyone in this one, I'm like, God, you have something weird going on in this.
I don't
You
agree with that, but
you and
yeah.
I probably definitely don't agree with that. But there's at least two. There's more than that, because there's so many weird side characters in this movie. There's a bunch of characters that I gravitate towards in this movie.
It's not just like a Cronenberg like body horror movie. It's also very much like a Toby Hooper, you're in the backwoods with a bunch of fucking rednecks movie. And those redneck, if the disease doesn't kill you, those rednecks sure as hell will. Like, I mean, literally, there's a scene in this movie that's straight out of Romero's original Night of the Living Dead. Like, one of the characters literally has the exact same fate. He's like, "Oh, I made it." He runs out onto the porch, gets fucking shot and thrown on a burn pile. Like,
but
Jesus.
But it's a completely different tone than that. It is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So funny.
It's like Eli Roth was like taking notes on Romero, going, "But what if I played that really dark concept for laughs?"
There's a ton of Toby Hooper in this movie. There's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre shot in this movie. It doesn't fit where he puts it, but it's there, and you obviously know where the reference comes from when he does it. There's a lot of like Fulci, Argento camera work in this too, especially when you get the girlfriend's face in the third act. That's straight up a Italian horror movie scene right there. So, like, okay, plot of this movie is the same as the last one. Group of teenagers go to a cabin in the woods. It's the same plot as any other cabin in the woods movie. What sort of sets this movie apart right away, I think, is introducing all
the N-word.
Is it bad? I like the payoff to that.
Oh, okay. So
it's so funny.
My last note that I have, I'm not even kidding, dude, is what the fuck is that ending? Because it's so weird. It's funny. It's funny as hell, but I'm like, what? Like, that's what you chose to end your body horror redneck horror movie?
Yeah, the old hermit who owns the local convenience store that they're buying their booze from, which happens in every cabin in the woods type of movie. Just drops like they ask questions like, who's the fox piss for? And like, he's like, for the foxes. Well, who's that gun for? And he drops the N-bomb. Like, oh, okay, this guy's racist, and that's all right. Racist backwoods redneck right there. The payoff at the end, which is the final scene of this movie.
Yeah, it's just after everything else. Like, you've forgotten all about the racist store owner.
Yeah. And I don't know, this I don't know, how many is it? Like 2 or 3 people walk in?
Yeah. Just like two or three people of color walk in. And
they drop the N-bomb to him, and he responds with, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, what?
Yep,
Only in
and he
2002 does
gives
this joke happen.
he gives them the gun,
Mm-hmm.
and they walk out with the gun. And it's like, oh my god,
That's hilarious.
like it's really funny, but it's also like, did you make this whole movie just to make that joke? Like, what? That's the thing you want to send your audience home on? It just, I don't know, man. It wrinkled my brain a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What also wrinkled my brain every time I watch this movie is when Ryder Strong, who's the main character of this, Sean Hunter himself, from Boy Meets World, he sits down next to this. I don't know. He's a strange looking kid. He has a very particular look to him.
Oh yeah, the biting kid.
And he bites him out of nowhere.
And the dad gets mad at Ryder Strong.
Yes. And it's not the only time in this movie that the kid bites someone and the dad gets mad at them for
for getting
biting
bit.
them.
And the second time, like the person doesn't even go up to the kid goes to the person.
The second time, not only he doesn't just go up to the person, he does like Mac from It's Always Sunny karate moves in slow motion to go up to him. What?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's so weird.
It's so
like,
funny.
Roth is just, I forgot how funny Roth is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have not watched anything of his except for House with a Clock in Its Walls, and I can't even tell you how long. Like, I don't even know if I saw Knock Knock. I don't think I did. I don't know. I think I might have started it at one point. But like watching this for the first time in God knows how many years, I was like, this is like a really funny movie. This is like actually hilarious. I forgot how fucking funny Eli Roth was. Because he is. Like,
he is.
I mean,
and I think
some of the characters are grating, and I think some of his attempts at humor fall flat. But when he nails it, like, it's really funny.
It's really funny. It's very kooky funny.
Yeah.
But it's also very smart at some points. Like the character we talked about at the end that gets the Night of the Living Dead fate. His whole thing is that so he's in a relationship with one of the girls. And Ryder Strong's the other guy trying to get in a relationship with a girl he's been friends with for a long time. And then there's just the jock burnout.
Oh, I hate that guy.
He's awful.
I wish he was the first one dead. Like, honestly.
But that guy and kind of like the main blonde guy at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
They make this bet at the beginning of the movie of they can only drink beer the entire time they're on this trip. And it's the reason why they don't get sick until they start drinking the water, because this movie is a kind of a pandemic type of movie. It's about getting this disease and having it deform your body and deteriorate it very quickly. And it's because of this contaminated water near the cabin that they're staying at. And I just love the fact that the one character survives the whole movie because he's drinking beer.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny.
It is pretty funny. And it is. It's got like clever moments like that. And then the jock guy starts yelling that someone's a slut, and I'm just like, huh? Why is this even in the movie? Like, they don't give him a satisfying enough death to where, like, because does he even die?
Oh yeah, he dies.
What happens with him?
He gets his head blown off.
That's right. Never mind. Okay, he does. Okay, never mind.
He gets.
God, I took notes and I couldn't remember that. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
The part where this movie maybe gets a little too kooky and Eli Rothy for me is when they're all having
the bald cap.
Yeah, it is. It's where Ryder Strong is telling this story of this bowling alley he used to visit as a kid.
You don't like that scene?
I don't I don't love it. No.
Really?
It feels a bit
Oh,
like, oh, Eli Roth has this idea for a horror movie. What's a weird campfire story I can tell in it? And I don't know. I liked it enough, but I kind of wish it paid off into the rest of the movie too. I don't know.
yeah, I get that. It reminds me a little bit of the Stand By Me scene with the pie eating contest,
Yeah.
where it's just like kind of a throwaway sequence that adds humor. Um, I I love the bowling story. I had forgotten about that, and when that started happening, I was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" I remember the head coming up in the ball return and
Hmm.
thinking that was a really funny gag. Um, and yeah, I actually that might have been my favorite scene in the whole movie. To be honest with you, I liked it a lot. So, but yeah, it's definitely a little jarring and very tonally different than the rest of the movie. So I
Hmm.
get it. I get it.
Yeah. As soon as we see Eli Roth's decapitated head roll into a ball return, no more than
Yeah.
2 minutes later does he show up with a horrible 2002 goatee and playing the character of Grim, being the
Yep.
most 2002 probably bumping Limp Biscuit on his way over with a giant bag of weed.
Or System of a Down. He definitely has the
Uh,
Surge look, doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So even before the Eli Roth cameos, though, I noticed I was like, this is the thing I wrote right before Eli Roth cameo bald cap. I wrote progressive sex scene for 2003 dot dot dot
Yeah.
pegging.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, yeah,
Yeah. One
good for this movie.
one thing Kayla is like, that's why because Kayla loves this movie, like
Yeah,
absolutely loves it, and she's like, that's one reason of many is that scene, because it's like, oh, it's not just this normal, oh, it's horror movie sex scene. It's like,
yeah,
oh, they halfway through it, the guy like flips over.
yeah. It's like I'm like, well, goddamn, yeah. And it's not even like played for laughs. It's just literally how those characters are.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's fucking cool, man. Like, hell yeah. We need more of that. We need
Hmm.
more of that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I just thought that was a good note to add to the
Hmm.
conversation.
Okay. So, okay. Obviously, the nasty hermit shows up, and that's where shit starts to go down.
Yeah,
This is where everybody's starting, get sick. They beat him up. They shoot him. They
they
light him
set him
on
on
fire.
fire.
They destroy their car. They destroy the car that they used to get there. Um, I'm just trying to get to the next morning because that's when my favorite character shows up in this movie. Winston
It's
the
been
cop.
yes. Oh God, the creepy cop who's like
You
said perving on him and
you don't understand him at all. He pretty much immediately as he shows up, he's like, "All right, man, it's all good. I'm on your side. We're gonna catch
yeah,
this guy." And it's like, "Are you on their side? Are you actually a cop? Is that a fake
he's
badge?"
weird.
And even by the end of the movie, you still don't fully understand this guy. But
Well,
his inner,
he's literally partying with high schoolers in the third act of this movie when like when they
yeah,
find him. He's literally drinking beer with a bunch of like I mean, I'm pretty sure they straight up say it's high school age
yeah,
kids. And I'm like,
because he's there
"Oh my
to break
god."
up an underage party, and he's drinking
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, and he's just sitting there like sipping 40s with them. I'm like, "God, this guy's creepy."
He is, but
It's just
I I love the
yeah,
introduction of him because he rolls up. We don't know this right away, but we have like a 5 minute scene with him where they're explaining like what happened and what's going on, and he's like, "Yeah, everything's cool. Just go inside and part. You're the party man." And I
yeah.
love that. That's what he calls him, though, the party man. Um,
Yeah, like when the girl goes back inside or goes outside, and he just calls from out there. He's like, "Oh, you just go back in and you start smoking that weed." And like she's just looking at him like, "What are you doing?" Like
But the best part is that he leaves on a bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe he's just the crazy Ralph character of this story.
But he's a cop. By the end of the movie, you find out he's an
You
actual
find out
cop.
he's an actual cop, yeah.
But it's like, why is he riding a bike
Unless
there?
it's like his like drunk uncle on the other end of the walkie-talkie.
No, he's with the cops at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. God damn.
Yeah. It makes no sense, right? It's hilarious though.
Yeah. Well, and that's another note I had. I was like, this plot seems like overly complicated at
Oh
times.
yeah.
It's like it's very clear that like Eli Roth is doing his first feature, and he's like, oh, but I love this and I love this, and he's pulling from so many different things. Like I put somewhere, I was like, this has flavors of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. Like the first act is pretty much the first 4 Friday the 13th setups, you know. A little bit of Evil Dead in there, Piranha even with like the water supply, and Night of the Living Dead, obviously, and that's not even counting like all the Italian films. The like, there's so much packed into this movie, and I think that's part of what kind of charmed me. Like, I'm a sucker for movies that aren't perfect but go for broke, and this movie's one of those. Like, I genuinely feel like I rewatched it. I really liked it. I think on further rewatches, I'm gonna like this one even more. Like, I feel like this one's just gonna keep growing for me. And now I'm really interested to go back and see some of the other Roth movies that I haven't watched in a while, like Hostel, because that's another one where I was like, God, I remember just thinking that one was really dark and gross and I didn't like it. But I'm like, now I feel like I need to watch Hostel and Hostel 2 again because I really, really liked Cabin Fever.
The interesting thing is, I can't think of another Eli Roth movie that has this tone.
Yeah.
Because Hostel does not at all.
I was about to say, Hostel is a darker one.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Straightforward horror movie. Same Green Inferno is a straightforward cannibal horror movie. A little bit of the Eli Roth comedy, but it doesn't mix well with cannibalism.
I really want you to watch House of the Clock in its Walls sometime soon, because that one, I don't know. I'll just be interested to hear your thoughts, because there are definitely like, it's an Eli Roth movie in that it's like, it's very punk rock. It's very raw. Even though he's doing an Amblin movie, there's still like Eli Rothisms about it. You know what I mean? Like it's a kid's movie, but he doesn't really sand his edges down for it, I don't think. And it's just a fascinating movie. I really like it. And I think Jack Black and Cate Blanchett just put in really good performances. I'd say this is like Cabin Fever for me right now, just by default, is kind of my second favorite Roth, because House of the Clock in its Walls is probably my favorite. I really like that one. And I'm
gonna transition us back to another scene
that
I just need to hear your thoughts on.
Yeah.
Two in particular involving the female characters.
Okay.
One you alluded to already, the leg shaving scene.
The shaving scene.
Which I remember that, but now watching it, I'm like, why does she continue to shave?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense story-wise. Like, why would she continue? I also feel like I remember
skin
peeling off. And that didn't happen. It's just she shaved and the cream went back to reveal that there was just sore and sickness over the leg. And I was like, oh, that's not as bad as I remember it being, but it still kind of gives me that like gross vibe. So like, I wonder if that's more like a Roth, like he didn't have the budget to do a better special effect, but he wanted to do something, and he knew that the audience's brain would fill it in, because it's such a weird, like when I watched it again, I was getting so ready to close my eyes, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't quite as like graphic as I remember it being. And it's a little bit like that first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, where, I mean, it's not totally like that because Eli Roth shows you a lot in this movie, but it doesn't show quite as much as I thought it had. Like, I feel like my brain definitely was filling in gaps way back when 11-year-old me watched this in a friend's basement, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I think the special effects hold up really well. It's just
oh
I
yeah,
kind of remember it like you do too. I just maybe got mixed up with something else. But like the special
yeah.
effects in this are great. The was it K and B
Oh God,
effects,
yeah.
Nicotero's team behind this. Like
Hmm.
this is great stuff, and that's definitely one of them that sticks out to me.
Well, and
Um,
the leg scene with like, because the way the makeup is, it's almost like there are like holes like punched
mhm.
into her skin, and you get real close-ups of that. And I don't feel like you get that on any other person. Like that's a specific like to that scene kind of makeup design, and it gets me, man. Like holes and like, oh, like
Mhm.
pockmarked and crater, like, oh, that stuff gets me. So like it didn't need to have the peeling skin. It still was effective. I just remember it being a little more graphic than it
Yeah.
was.
The other scene involves Ryder Strong's character in bed with the girl he likes,
Oh, yeah.
and it's probably the most
Which one?
uncomfortable scene.
The one where he's feeling her up while she's
Ye-
like still kind of half. Yeah, I hate
Yeah,
that scene.
I do too because I think it's
It
playing it
remind
off as romantic, and
Yeah.
it is not. It is rapey.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like I love Creepshow too. I love the raft segment. There's one part of the raft
Yep.
segment, and it's that where I'm just like, why even have that? Why is that in there? And that's kind of how I felt about this
Hmm.
scene. Like I get that it's there to like all of a sudden, like, oh, he notices that her leg has sickness on it, and like,
More
oh
than just
God.
her leg.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's like she's got pretty bad yeast infection.
Yeah.
Um but no, yeah, I don't like that scene. And then I think it's really weird that they just have another sex scene later after he like kills his girlfriend, or maybe before, right before he kills his girlfriend, where
No, it's
like
when
the other,
they are brutally mean and just lock her out in like a barn,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you
and
have
then
the dog that keeps going after
yeah,
everyone too. Again, Eli Roth is really just throwing everything at the dartboard of this movie,
yes,
and I think
yeah,
most 9 times out of 10 it works. At least for me, this feels
yes.
like a buffet of horror movies I love, and kind of the tropes of them all mixed together. And I think for the most part
Yeah,
it works, but there are just little bits that I'm like,
this
we didn't need
this to
that,
me
or it could have
feels
been.
like a movie that's very similar to like My Soul to Take, where Wes Craven is taking a lot of the things that he's done from his like entire career. So like it's very much like a the Wes Craven thing is more of a I'm gonna replay all my greatest hits. Eli Roth stuff here is I'm gonna replay like all my favorite
Hmm.
like directors'
Yeah.
greatest hits, and I like that kind of energy. It doesn't necessarily make up for like a completely cohesive viewing experience, but you're right. It's like an all you can eat buffet of horror tropes,
Hmm.
and it's just kind of fun. I don't know. Like I was caught off guard by how much I genuinely liked
Yeah.
this movie. Um, I think I'm only gonna like it more with time too.
Hmm.
I really like, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm glad you talked me into finally giving this one a second chance.
Yeah, I had a blast watching it. Again, the Night of the Living Dead take at the end, where the character that, again, like I said, is only drinking beer, doesn't drink the water, pays off. That it's such a great payoff to that, and it totally
So
works.
fucking pumped that he was the only survivor.
And it's so great because he's walking in and he has this white cloth that he's been using the entire movie, covering his mouth.
Yep.
Um, to not get sick, and he's walking through the house and sees all the carnage that's happened in the cabin, and it's like the look on his face is like, oh my god, I can't believe this, like one of my friend's head is blown off, my girlfriend is scattered everywhere. But it's the
Yep.
fact that he walks out of the cabin, it's like I survived. Like he's so happy
Yeah.
he survived. And
And then
immediately gets shot.
they platoon him. He's like, he's got the like Charlie Sheen thing going. It's like, oh God, it's great.
So funny.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Do you have any other thoughts?
I love the shot of like the kids getting the water for the lemonade stand and just the slow pan over to like Ryder Strong's like close to dead body just floating in the river downstream. I'm like, oh man, that kind of stuff that gets me. That like the contaminated water stuff is really nasty. And
there's one thing we need to talk about. I almost forgot about it. It's
okay.
where the high schoolers are having this party, and Ryder
Yeah.
Strong shows up, and he's sick, and he's covered in blood,
Yeah.
and he's starting to freak everyone out because Winston, the cop, is supposed to shoot him on sight, but he can't because he's the party man. And all these kids are like, shoot him, and stuff starts to go down. They all start freaking out. One of them somehow swallows a harmonica.
What?
You don't remember this?
Oh my God, how did I miss that?
One of them is playing a harmonica and they swallow it and it ends up in their throat and you can see it, this special effect of a harmonica in their throat, and you hear them like opening their mouth and it like wheezes like a harmonica sound.
Bro, was I just like writing a note when that happened? Because Jesus Christ, I feel like I would remember that.
Is there different cuts of this movie? I don't know.
I don't know. I must have just looked away for a sec. Is it a pretty quick scene?
They show him a couple times.
What the fuck? I watched that. Oh my God. I don't know what.
You're gonna have to watch it again.
I'm gonna have to watch it again. I'm not gonna complain about having to watch it again. I probably will throw this on it,
especially since some guy swallows a harmonica.
Yeah, especially since some guy swallows a harmonica. I can't miss that.
Super funny, but yeah,
that's all. God, that's so dope.
Last bit I thought we better bring up.
Yeah.
This movie is a 4 out of 5 for me. I like I said, my favorite Roth. Totally worked upon rewatch.
So I gave it a 3 on my rewatch. I'm thinking I might have to bump it up to 3.5 just because like it's more than a 3-star for me. I like the further out I've gotten from it, the more I'm even like I liked it when I was watching it, but I haven't really been able to stop thinking about it for a while. Like I'm like, God, that was so much fun. I didn't remember it being that much fun, and now I'm kind of like, I really want to watch this one again soon. So, I look forward to rewatching this and actually catching the guy swallowing the harmonica. I have no idea how I missed that, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, all right, Sam, are you ready to get out of this cabin?
Yeah. This was a fun episode, though. Oh my God,
this was a ton of fun. We're climbing up the steps of the cellar of the Evil Dead cabin. We're gonna make our way. The sun is rising. We're reaching the end. Some deadites are probably gonna run through the forest and smack us in the face, but we're
or a group of hillbillies is gonna show up and just shoot us in the head and then burn us all.
Yeah,
burn us on a pile.
Or we're gonna go bowling with our hillbilly friend too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have that ending. I don't know. But let's wrap this thing up. Thank you all for listening. And hopefully you enjoyed the show. And hopefully you enjoyed our announcement way back at the top of the show that Caroline Williams is doing the SiouxperCon in September here in Sioux Falls. So super stoked to talk about that. Finally, let it out into the world. Sam.
Yeah.
Should we plug some stuff?
Let's plug some stuff.
All right. Well,
I won't fuck it up this time.
All right, you got it.
Okay. You can listen to our podcast.
You already messed up.
Okay. I already messed up. You can watch or listen to our podcast on any kind of podcast platform. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google Play, right? We're on all those. Yeah. We're on all those. Just wherever you get your podcasts, just search Screams from the Basement. We're here. We're ready to entertain you with our horror nonsense and shenanigans. And if you want more than just the podcast, even, you can follow us on social media. We've got some cool things planned. We'd like to hear from you guys. Like, send us stuff in the comments or DM us, or, like, email us. Tell us we're wrong about a movie or we're right about a movie. And we might be doing a mail segment sometime soon. I don't know. We've got an idea for a mail segment that would be fun. So definitely give us shout outs on our socials, and you might get read on the show. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you just search Screams from the Basement on any of those platforms, you should be good. Our Twitter handle is a little weird. It's SFTB pod. Yeah.
Our
SFTB pod. So yeah. Otherwise, just search Screams from the Basement. We should pop up everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Did I catch everything? Did I make everything?
That's it.
I redeemed myself from yesterday, or from last episode, when I was like, huh? Follow me on Letterboxd.
You nailed it, Sam. Yeah, Screams from the Basement. Just hit the Google machine and you'll find all our stuff.
You'll find all our stuff.
You'll find it.
It's all on the Google.
Yeah, it's there. It's on the Google machine. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else to plug or throw out there. So thank you all for listening. This has been a blast. How are we gonna end this one, Sam?
I don't know. We should actually come up with a good sign off.
We should, because we're kind of just dragging this out.
Yeah, we are.
I'll just leave us with just have a good time. Be good to each other.
Yeah. Have a good time and be good to each other.
Yeah. Have a good time. Be good to each
other.
Good
message.
And watch horror movies.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.